You're 16, in your grandpa's workshop, striking an arc on a piece of scrap angle iron. He bought the Lincoln Tombstone welder for $578 at Home Depot. 12 years later, you're sealed inside a steel chamber the size of a school bus 400 feet beneath the North Sea, with a daily rate of $2,710 on your pay stub. The profession bridging these two moments has a fatality rate 40 times higher than the average American worker. It's called underwater welding, though welding comprises perhaps only 10% of the actual work. This details every stage of an American underwater welder's career and the true cost of advancement. That's what Level by Level is all about. If you like career breakdowns with real numbers and no fluff, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The pool and the garage. You're 16. The Lincoln Tombstone rests on a rolling cart in the back of the shop. You've watched enough YouTube tutorials to recognize the sound of sizzling bacon from a good weld. You clamp the ground to clean steel, set the dial to about 90 amps, and nod your head to drop the hood. Then you strike the rod like a match. The arc sparks, the rod sticks, and you yank it free with a flick of your wrist. A coppery taste blooms on your tongue from the regulator's silicone mouthpiece you chewed earlier at the pool. You drag, you weave, you chip away the slag with a Harbor Freight hammer, and the resulting bead resembles a worm after a brawl. Grandpa approaches, inspects the angle iron, and informs you the amperage is too high. You reduce it to 70. The second bead is straighter. He gives a single nod before returning to his coffee. Time ceases to matter when you're in the workshop. 3 weekends later, your parents drive you to Key Largo for a long weekend. You spend $400 of saved lawn mowing money on an open water course, a payday dive. In the hotel pool, you intentionally flood your mask, then clear it. You recover the regulator. Performing a fin pivot at the bottom of the deep end, you experience neutral buoyancy for the first time. On your third dive, a reef shark glides beneath the boat, and you grin around your mouthpiece instead of recoiling. The dive master signs your logbook on the dock. 8 weeks later, the certification card arrives in the mail, tucked in a paper sleeve. You place it in your wallet, behind your learner's permit. The chlorine and sunscreen scent of that pool deck lingers with you longer than any other memory of the trip. Level 2. The fab shop. You're 18, and the welding shop foreman hires you at $16 an hour to grind bevels on quarter-inch plates. You sweep a shop floor that's worth more than every house on your street. In the mornings, you fetch coffee. In the afternoons, you chip slag. The Miller Miggs setup hisses argon through its line, and the sour milk odor of a damp Carhartt jacket permeates the locker room. The foreman demonstrates the sequence for a butt joint. You mark the plate with soapstone, then flap disc the mill scale until the steel gleams. You grind a 30-degree bevel on each edge, setting the root gap with a nickel laid flat between the pieces. You tack at 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock, then run a 7018 root with a tight arc. You chip, you hot pass. The foreman walks over, runs his thumb across the cap, and utters one word: clean. You file that word away, telling no one. On Friday, your check clears for $640 after taxes. You cash it at the credit union and deposit $400 into an envelope labeled Dive School. The customer pays the shop $94 an hour for the booth where you stand. You earn $16. One afternoon, the foreman calls you aside near the bay door. He tells you the only escape from this room is a 5-month program in Jacksonville. He warns that the women you'll meet at 26 won't wait for you to get your act together. You stop saving your pay stubs individually. You start totaling them up. Level 3, Commercial Dive School. You're 19? You wire $14,800 to CDA Technical Institute in Jacksonville and sign for the remainder. 20 weeks, 9-hour days in a yard reeking of sulfur and diesel. On the first morning, an instructor named Matthew Thomas, a former life support technician from a Chet Morrison vessel, leads the class to a 30-foot tank and points to a row of Kirby Morgan helmets on a shelf. He states, "I help teach students the skills required to work underwater to accomplish job tasks." Then he instructs you to dress in. Getting hatted up involves 10 steps, which you will perform 400 times before he clears you. Comms check on the radio. Pull the neck dam over your head. Lower the helmet onto the neck ring. Latch the jockeying strap. Lock the clamp. Gas on. Breathe. Defog steady flow check. Thumbs up to the tender. Step off the stage and call leaving surface. During your first chamber blowdown, the instructor takes the class to 165 feet of pressure in a dry pot. Your ears lock at 60. You valsalva, swallow, wiggle your jaw, and at the last second, your left ear cracks open. You say nothing, just endure the descent. Week 9, you ignite a Brocco Bridge 22 cutting torch underwater for the inaugural time, and the sulfuric burn aroma penetrates your helmet's exhaust like nothing else. Week 14, you weld a Class B coupon with a waterproofed rod in a tank, and the AWSD 3.6M codebook grader grants you a pass on your initial attempt. The OSHA Subpart T modules are put into a binder you'll misplace within a year. You rapidly absorb dive physics, hyperbaric medicine, gas mixtures, decompression tables, and the rigging calculations that prevent deck cranes from harming tenders. Out of the 27 students who began with you, 22 remain at graduation. Among those, the school placed 90% of the 204 out of 227 graduates from the previous year into the industry. Your ADCI entry-level tender diver card costs $75 to acquire. You staple a copy to your resume's back. You drive home in your truck with a cardboard box filled with soiled boots and a graduation certificate that, 3 weeks later, your mother frames and hangs above the dryer. The romantic allure of the trade has vanished. The trade is now stark reality. You no longer contest the foreman's decisions, not because he's correct, but because arguing reveals too much. Level 4. The tender. You're 20. A Louisiana inshore company hires you as a tender for $21.71 an hour. And on your first day, you scrub a Kirby Morgan Superlight in a 5-gallon bucket of dish soap and fresh water until the neck dam's interior no longer smells of another man's sweat. You hand spool 300 feet of umbilical onto a reel. You haul the exhaust hose. You operate the comms console with a Bullard headset, and by the third week, you understand every component of the umbilical without needing to look. Gas, comms, pneumo, hot water, strength member. You stand on a barge deck for 14 hours in Carhartt insulated bibs and stay dry. The diesel exhaust from the deck Jenny becomes embedded in your beard. Every shackle on the boat is rust red. The breakthrough occurs in your 6th month. A pile wrap on a clarifier in Huma. The supervisor points at you, announces you're next, and the rest of the deck feigns indifference. You suit up. You descend the pile. You wire brush a 4-foot band of marine growth by feel. Visibility is 0, and you can taste the rust through your helmet's exhaust. You measure the circumference with a piece of paracord. You position the FRP jacket. You manually set the band straps. You ratchet. The grout injects cleanly. You exit with the umbilical neatly squared and calm communications. The supervisor records it as your first working dive. You say nothing, and the supervisor pretends not to notice that either. 2 weeks later, the foreman of a rival company, Coastal Gunite Construction, sends a 47-year-old diver into 19 feet of water on his first day at the William B. Umstead Bridge in Mans Harbor, North Carolina. The man becomes unresponsive during a test dive. OSHA cites the company for 4 serious violations and the maximum legal penalty, $40,329. The OSHA Raleigh director, Kim Morton, issues a statement that reads, "Ensuring employees are physically fit for commercial diving is a fundamental part of workplace safety." You read it on a phone in the bunk room and place the phone face down on the mattress. You don't call your mother back that night. You apply for your ADCI air diver card the next morning. $175, a sober logbook, and the supervisor's signature secure your upgrade. Level 5, the offshore diver. You're 25. A Gulf outfit crew changes you onto a dive support vessel out of Fort Champs for a 28-day hitch. That's what Level by Level is all about. If you like career breakdowns with real numbers and no fluff, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. You share a cabin with one other person. You consume 4 meals daily. The first dive of the trip is 180 feet to a wellhead to replace a sacrificial anode, and you perform it wearing a Kirby Morgan helmet you don't own. The company owns the helmet, and you own your harness, your knife, and your reputation. You quickly learn that wet welding constitutes perhaps 10% of an underwater welder's duties. The remaining 90% involves brushing, bolting, anode replacements, flange torquing, hot tapping, and marking inspection points for the topside NDT technician. The work relies on touch and 1-foot visibility, and conserving effort is your sole means of survival within the gas budget the supervisor allocated. You execute a Class B wet stick weld on a pipeline patch on day 11. You needle gun the marine growth off the joint. You set the polarity. You tack the patch in 4 locations. You strike the root pass with hydro weld rod. You chip, you cap, you wire brush. You flag the magnetic particle inspection point with a mag marker for the surface technician. The supervisor transmits a single word via your helmet speaker. Good. The day rate amounts to approximately $400 plus depth pay of $2 per foot. Call it $580 for the shift. You observe your bank account growing faster than you can spend it. 3 hitches in. The BLS Occupational Employment Survey for May 2023 indicates 2,790 commercial divers nationwide with an average wage of $75,570, and you're already earning over $90,000 in a slow year. The Cambridge Fatality Report rests unopened on your tablet in your bunk. Hurricane Helga sweeps up the slot in October. The dive supervisor removes you from a task only 11 minutes in. The current proves too strong for efficient work. You offer no resistance. After 2 more trips, the company offers you enrollment in SAT school. The room where you accepted had a broken coffee maker and a calendar 2 months out of date. This marked your 3rd consecutive missed Thanksgiving. Your sister sent a picture of the dinner table. You affixed it to the cabin wall above your bunk, and by the 7th month of that year, the constant flinching at the hot stick had ceased. Level 6. The Saturation Diver. You're 28. Subsea 7 assigns you to the 7 Atlantic, a dual-bell saturation system launched from IHC Merwede in 2009. It boasts a design depth of 350 meters, housing 24 divers encased in steel. On day 1, you blow down on heliox to a storage pressure equivalent to 400 feet and reside there for 28 days. Your voice emerges sounding like Donald Duck. Outside the chamber, nobody comprehends you without an unscrambler. The air within the system carries a scent of sweet plastic and helium, and the gas reclaim mechanism emits a white noise hum that becomes imperceptible by day 4. You sleep in a bunk equipped with a TV bolted to the bulkhead. You consume 3 novels per trip. You receive meals through a medical lock. At 0600, you enter the bell with 2 other divers. You seal the lock. The launch and recovery system clangs against the trunk, lowering the bell to the operational depth on the seabed. The bellman opens the bottom hatch. You exit the lock. For 6 hours, you secure a subsea manifold. You apply torque to flange bolts according to specifications. You install a tie-in spool. A hot water suit delivers warmth through capillaries affixed to your skin, and heliox flows via the integrated breathing system mask. You re-enter the lock. You shower in the trunk. You eat. You sleep. You repeat. The American SAT diver's average annual pay, according to ZipRecruiter in May 2026, is $123,299. In the North Sea, the 2026 union schedule remunerates a professional saturation diver $2,710 daily. You cash the wire transfer. On day 21 of the trip, while on a routine bell run, a story from school resurfaces in your memory. Chris Lemon, North Sea, September 2012, aboard the Bibi Topaz. The dynamic positioning system failed. His umbilical severed at 330 feet, and he survived for 33 minutes on a 5-minute bailout. Duncan Alcock and Dave Uwasa managed to position the bell back over him in time. You complete the bolting. You lock in. The decompression at the end of the trip spans 6 days of stops, offering no emergency exit. On day 26, the squawk box in the chamber informs you of your uncle's passing in Mississippi. You complete deco. The keys to your truck are in an envelope at the topside office, and as you step off the bell pad and walk toward the parking lot, the truck starts on the first turn of the key. Final beat. The tombstone remains in the garage. Grandpa died 2 years prior, and your father couldn't bring himself to sell it. So it rests under a tarp on the same rolling cart. And the layer of dust on the hood is precisely as thick as you recall from the night before you departed for Jacksonville. The morning after a 28-day SAT trip, you drive home to Pensacola and sleep for 36 hours. On the third day, you enter the garage and pull off the tarp. The dial is still set to 70. You strike an arc on a piece of scrap angle iron. The bead is flawless. The sizzle of bacon is the same sound it made when you were 16. You chip away the slag with the identical Harbor freight hammer. You contemplate what your college-educated cousin earned last year, and you halt the thought before it fully forms. That's no longer the point of comparison. An 18-year-old from your high school texts you about dive school. He wants to know if it's worth the $14,800. You reply with a single sentence. Show up. Don't quit. Don't lie on the logbook. The trade bestowed upon you a knee that clicks in cold weather and a Thanksgiving you'll never reclaim. And you accepted that the morning you signed your second SAT contract. You walk back into the house. The PADI card from Key Largo is still in your wallet behind your driver's license. The tombstone is now yours. The truck keys hang on the hook by the door, and they are yours.